The escape begins. For 13 long years, she lived in a cage. Not a normal cage with bars, but a room made of cold, dark metal deep under the ground of a prison planet. Her name was Vela, but no one called her that anymore. To the guards, she was just Subject 9. Every day, they came and tested her, scanned her brain, injected her with strange chemicals, and asked her the same questions again and again. But Vela never gave them what they wanted. She never told them about the human she once saw. She never told them what she knew. She stayed quiet. She waited. She watched. For 13 years, she learned everything about the prison. She learned the time when the guards switched shifts. She learned the sound of each boot, each weapon, and each door. She counted seconds, remembered patterns, and waited for a mistake. And then, one day, something finally went wrong. A red warning light blinked outside her cell. It was small, almost nothing, just a power flicker. But to Vela, it was a signal. She stood up, slowly, careful not to show hope on her face. Hope was dangerous here. A few minutes later, the hallway lights turned off for exactly 6 seconds. In those 6 seconds, she moved. She picked up a broken piece of metal she had hidden under the floor. She slid it into the panel beside her door and twisted it just like she had practiced in her mind 1,000 times. The door opened with a hiss. Vela held her breath. No alarm. No guard in sight. She ran. The hallway was narrow, filled with pipes and shadows. Every corner could be death, but she didn't stop. She didn't think. She just moved. She ran past rooms filled with screams, cages with creatures she couldn't even name. They looked at her with sad eyes, some angry, some begging. But she couldn't help them. She had to survive first. She reached a stairwell and climbed fast, even though her legs shook with pain. Her body was weak from years of injections and hunger, but her mind was sharp. She reached the surface door, locked, of course. But the door control was old, rusted. She slammed her metal shard into the console and pulled wires like she remembered from long ago, before the prison, when she was still free. The door opened slowly. Blinding light hit her eyes. It was the first time she had seen the sky in 13 years. It wasn't blue like she remembered. It was yellow, dirty, and filled with clouds that moved too fast. She stepped outside, her feet touching real ground. But she had no time to feel it. A loud alarm started behind her. They knew. They were coming. She ran into the toxic wildlands, her lungs burning, her legs barely moving. Behind her, she heard machines start, search drones flying, engines roaring. They would find her soon. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. She reached a cliff and looked down at a sea of red dust and dead trees. No way forward. No place to hide. Her body gave up. She collapsed, her breath shallow, her skin cold. And just as her eyes started to close, she saw something in the sky. A ship. Not one of theirs. It was a small scout ship, human-made. It landed far away, near a broken hill. Vela's heart beat faster. Maybe, just maybe. With the last of her strength, she dragged herself across the ground. One hand, then the next. Slow, painful, desperate. She didn't know if the human inside would help her. She didn't know if they would shoot her on sight. But she had no other choice. She reached the edge of the landing site. Then everything went black. The human contact. The desert was silent. Wind moved like breath across the dry land, lifting red dust into the air. Jack Reeves stood at the edge of his scout ship, helmet off, staring at the dead trees and sharp cliffs. He didn't come here to save anyone. He came to search for crashed tech, maybe a lost beacon, maybe old alien junk he could sell back home. But something felt strange today. The scanner in his hand beeped once, then twice. Not metal, not tech, life. He turned, slowly. There, lying near the rocks, was a shape, small, still, and barely breathing. A woman, an alien woman. Her skin was pale gray, like moonlight. Her hair was tangled and silver, and her arms were covered in scars, burns, and something worse, signs of torture. Jack didn't move right away. He had heard stories about her kind. They were smart, powerful, dangerous. Some humans believed they could control minds or melt machines just by thinking. But she didn't look dangerous now. She looked broken. Still, his hand moved to his gun. He walked closer, step by step. Her eyes opened. Only for a second. She looked at him. Not with hate, not with fear. With hope. Then she passed out again. Jack didn't know what to do. He should leave her. Take off. Call it in. Let someone else deal with it. But something about her face, the pain, the strength it must have taken to get here, it stopped him. He bent down and picked her up. She was lighter than she looked, like someone who hadn't eaten properly in years. He carried her into the ship and laid her on the medical bench. The ship's AI scanned her quickly. Severe dehydration, internal bleeding, cellular stress, toxin exposure, the voice said. Species: unknown, possible hybrid. Jack stared at her for a while. Then he closed the door and lifted the ship into the sky. Hours passed. The ship flew low, under radar, away from patrol zones. She didn't wake, but her breathing was stronger now. Jack sat in the pilot's seat, watching the scanners, thinking. He didn't know who she was, or what kind of mess she'd bring, but he knew what he saw in her eyes. She wanted to live, and maybe, just maybe, she didn't deserve to die out there alone. She woke in silence. Her eyes opened slowly, unsure of where she was. Jack was sitting nearby, eating from a metal food pack. She tried to speak, but her throat made no sound. He held out a water bottle. She drank it fast, like it was the last water in the galaxy. Then she said, in broken English, "You are human." Jack nodded. "Yeah," he said, "and you're lucky I'm one of the nice ones." She gave a small smile, barely there. Then her face turned serious. "They will come," she said. "Who?" Jack asked. "The ones who kept me," she whispered. "They don't stop." Jack leaned back, thinking hard. He had a rule. Never get involved in alien politics. Never touch enemy territory. Never bring unknowns into his ship. But rules were easy when no one needed help. Now someone did. And she wasn't just any someone. She was a prisoner who escaped after 13 years. A survivor with secrets. And probably a target. Jack stood up and checked the navigation screen. They were too close to the old prison planet still. They needed to move, now? He turned to her. "All right, mystery lady," he said. "Let's get you somewhere safe." But she shook her head slowly. "Nowhere is safe," she said. "Not for me. Not for you." Outside the ship, far in the distance, two small lights blinked in the clouds. Scout drones. Hunters. They had found her scent. They were coming. The chase. The stars were cold and distant. Space stretched endlessly, but inside Jack's small ship, the air felt tight. Vela sat on the floor, still weak, still trembling, her silver hair hanging in messy strands. Her eyes followed every flicker of light on the dashboard, every shadow in the corners. She could feel them out there, hunting. Not the human patrols, something faster, smarter, more deadly. Machines built to find her, to drag her back, to punish her for surviving. Jack tapped the controls, keeping the ship low and fast. The radar beeped, faint blips far behind, but getting closer. "They're fast," Vela whispered, her voice hoarse. Jack didn't answer. He didn't need to. He felt it in his bones. They were closing in. The ship shuddered as a pulse of energy grazed the hull. He looked up. A shadow passed across the windshield, like a predator in space. "They know we're here," he said, finally. Vela's hands clenched, nails digging into her arms. "I told you, they never stop," she said, almost to herself. Jack swerved, dodging invisible beams, taking them through asteroid debris. Each movement was precise. Each second could mean life or death. Vela watched, fascinated. For 13 years, she had only escaped a cage. Now she was flying through a storm of stars. And humans could be unpredictable, dangerous, clever. This one was both clever and dangerous, but alive. And for the first time in years, she felt hope. Suddenly, the ship's alarm screamed. Red lights flashed across the cockpit. Missiles, small, fast, alien-made. Jack's hands moved like lightning, dodging, weaving, firing countermeasures. Vela leaned against the wall, unable to help, but her mind worked in secret. She remembered patterns from her prison days, how the guards' drones moved, how sensors could be tricked. She whispered directions to Jack, broken English, but enough. "Left, no, down, slow now." Jack glanced at her, then followed her voice. Together, human and alien, they danced through the deadly sky. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Exhaustion crept into Jack's muscles, into Vela's mind. The enemy was relentless, but Jack noticed something strange. They weren't just hunting her randomly. They were tracking something inside her. Something she carried. She didn't tell him yet, and he didn't ask. Some truths were dangerous. Some truths were alive. Then, a new danger appeared. A massive ship, black as space, larger than anything Jack had ever seen. It appeared from behind an asteroid belt like a shadow swallowing the stars. Vela's eyes widened. They brought the hunter, she said, her voice shaking. Jack's jaw tightened. No turning back now. The massive ship fired a pulse that rocked their hull. Jack's ship spun violently, alarms screaming. Vela fell to the floor, clutching her head. I can help, she whispered, but Jack wasn't sure what she meant. Suddenly, her eyes glowed faint silver in the dim light. A pulse of energy surged from her hands, small but precise, hitting one of the incoming drones. It exploded, sending shrapnel into space. Jack stared, stunned. Where did you? He began. I told you, she said. I am not powerless. Jack's mind raced. They were outmatched, outgunned, and yet, somehow, they survived each attack. The ship shuddered again, lights flickering, hull creaking. Vela's voice grew firm, clear. Trust me, she said. Jack nodded, knowing he had no choice. He followed her directions through asteroid fields, narrow canyons of rock and metal. Their enemies struggled to follow. And for a moment, hope felt real. Finally, they broke into a calm sector of space, quiet and empty. The black ship stayed behind, slowing but still watching. Jack let out a long breath, wiping sweat from his brow. Vela sank to the floor, exhausted, but her eyes still sharp. They won't give up, she said, almost smiling. No, Jack replied, but neither will we. They floated in silence for a moment, staring at the stars, both knowing this was only the beginning. The hunt was not over, and secrets, bigger than either of them, were waiting ahead. The secret she carries. The ship drifted in a silent nebula. Stars blurred behind thick clouds of gas, colored purple and gold. Jack sat in the cockpit, staring at the empty space ahead. Vela sat across from him, wrapped in a thin blanket, still pale but moving stronger. Her eyes were wide, watching everything. Not the stars, not the ship, but something deeper, a memory, a warning, a fear. For hours, neither spoke. The hum of the engines was the only sound. Then Vela finally whispered, You need to know why they hunted me. Jack leaned back, tired but alert. You've already told me some, he said. They want me, she said, shaking her head. But not for me. For what I carry. Jack frowned. What do you mean? Her hands shook as she lifted them, revealing faint silver markings running across her arms. Faint, glowing symbols that pulsed like light in rhythm with her heartbeat. They put it inside me, she said, voice low. Not all of me. Part of their weapon data, memories, knowledge. Jack's eyes widened. You mean, you have something in your head? She nodded. Yes. Secrets they cannot let go. Secrets about weapons, worlds, plans, everything. Jack's mind raced. The humans of Earth, the rebels, the armies. If this got out, it could start wars, destroy planets, maybe even end civilizations. He swallowed hard, realizing what he held in the palms of his hands. Not a prisoner, not a refugee, but a living key to the galaxy's deadliest secrets. Suddenly, the ship shook violently, alarms blaring. Jack grabbed the controls, heart pounding. Another attack? Vela asked, eyes wide. Jack shook his head, scanning the radar. No, something else. Vela's eyes narrowed, and she placed her hand on the console, small but precise. The ship's sensors flickered. Images of distant ships, cloaked and fast, appeared for a brief moment, then disappeared. They are tracking the secret inside me, she whispered. Not the ship, not me. The data. Jack's hands tightened on the controls. Then we have to move faster. No, Vela said. We cannot run forever. We need a place to hide, and I know one. Hours later, they landed on a remote space station, old and abandoned, orbiting a dead moon. Rust crawled across the walls, and the lights flickered, but it was safe, for now. Vela walked slowly through the corridors, her hand brushing against panels, sensors, and hidden rooms she had memorized from long ago. This station, my people used it, she said, almost to herself. A place to hide, to store knowledge, to survive. Jack followed, skeptical but trusting. And you trust this place? Vela looked at him, her silver eyes bright. I trust it more than the galaxy outside. In a hidden chamber, Vela sat, closed her eyes, and began the process. A soft glow spread from her head to the floor, flowing like silver light. Jack watched in awe as data, memories, and secrets poured out of her mind into the station's ancient terminals. He realized this was more than information. It was a living history, a weapon of knowledge, a map of every secret plan her enemies had made in the last 20 years. "Why show me this?" Jack asked, his voice trembling. "Because," Vela said, "you will need it to survive, to fight, to protect others." Jack nodded, understanding, but feeling the weight of what they now carried. Suddenly, sensors in the station blinked. Red lights flashed, an alarm screamed. Vela froze, eyes wide. "They found us," she said, voice low, shaking. Jack grabbed his blaster. "We're not done yet." Vela's hand glowed again, small pulses of silver energy hitting the walls, cutting through the surveillance systems. She looked at Jack. "Trust me," she said, calm and fierce. Jack nodded. "Always." Outside, the dark ships waited, cloaked and patient. They would not give up. But Vela and Jack now had an edge, a secret they carried together, a power neither fully understood. And the galaxy was about to notice. Betrayal. The station was quiet, too quiet. Jack thought the silence was a blessing, a moment to breathe. But Vela could feel it, a shadow moving through the walls, faster than it should, watching, waiting. "They're here," she whispered, eyes narrowing. Jack frowned, checking the scanners. Everything looked normal. She stood up, silver eyes glowing faintly. Not everything shows on scanners. Hours later, Jack's old crew arrived. People he had trusted for years. Friends he had fought beside, laughed with, shared victories and defeats. They greeted him with smiles, hugs, familiar warmth. But Vela stayed quiet, watching them, feeling the tension under their easy words. She didn't trust them, and now, neither should he. As night fell on the Dead Moon station, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed, and the hull shook violently. Jack grabbed his blaster, shouting, "Everyone, to the safe rooms." Vela's head snapped to him, eyes wide. "Too late," she said, voice calm, deadly. From the shadows, one of Jack's closest allies stepped forward, weapon raised. "Sorry, Jack," he said, voice cold. "She's worth more than you. Credits, power, everything." Vela didn't flinch. Her body moved faster than human eyes could follow. Her hands glowed silver, sending a pulse through the air, short, but enough to throw the betrayer back against the wall. Jack fired, but he knew it wasn't enough. They were outnumbered, outgunned, trapped. The crew had been compromised, hired, turned. Every friend a threat, every familiar face a lie. Vela grabbed Jack, dragging him into the inner chambers. "We have to move," she said, urgency sharp in her voice. "But the ship," Jack began. "Not now," she snapped, eyes glowing brighter. They ran through corridors, walls shaking from gunfire, pulses, and explosions. Every corner, another enemy waiting. Vela whispered, guiding Jack, her knowledge of alien tech, traps, and patterns keeping them alive. At last, they reached the central hub. The betrayer followed, faster than expected, weapon aimed, rage in his eyes. Vela stepped forward, silver energy flashing, cutting through the walls like fire. Jack froze for a moment, watching her fight, realizing he had never seen this side of her. Not the scared, weak prisoner. Not the broken survivor. But the force that had escaped 13 years of suffering. The predator, clever, precise, unstoppable. In the chaos, the betrayer lunged. Vela sidestepped, hitting him with a controlled pulse. He slammed against the wall, unconscious but alive. She didn't kill him, but made it clear he was finished. Jack exhaled, chest heavy, eyes wide. "Who are you?" he asked, all mixed with fear. Vela looked at him, calm but tired. "I am what they made me to be, but I am still me." They didn't have time to celebrate. Outside, alarms screamed. Search drones flooded the station, and enemy ships appeared in orbit. Vela grabbed Jack's hand, silver energy rippling from her body. "We fight together," she said. Jack nodded, trusting her completely now. They had survived betrayal, survived impossible odds, and now, the galaxy itself was hunting them. As they ran, Jack realized something. He had thought betrayal was the worst danger. But now he knew. The truth was out there, bigger than he could imagine. And together, He and Vela were the only chance anyone had to survive it. Humanity fights back. The enemy facility loomed on the horizon. A massive fortress built into a jagged asteroid, black as void, bristling with weapons, scanners, and guards. Vela hovered over the ship's control panel, her silver eyes reflecting the harsh lights of the fortress. "This is it," she said, voice quiet but sharp. "Every secret, every plan. It's all inside, and they'll kill to protect it." Jack adjusted his gear, helmet tight, blaster ready. His crew, the few who had not betrayed him, waited silently behind him. They didn't speak, but their eyes said it all: fear, determination, trust, and respect for Vela. For the first time, Jack realized something powerful. Humanity might be fragile, but together, clever and fearless, they could stand against gods, aliens, and machines. They approached the facility under the cover of a meteor storm. Rocks and debris collided around them, masking the ship from scanners. Vela guided Jack through hidden gaps, secret codes she remembered from her capture years ago. Every step precise, calculated, dangerous. They landed in a maintenance tunnel, dark and narrow, lined with pipes that hummed with energy. Jack whispered, "How do we even stop them?" Vela's smile was small, faint, but fierce, by using their own power against them. Inside, the facility was chaos waiting to happen. Guards patrolled in pairs, drones buzzed overhead, and surveillance cameras rotated like hungry eyes. Vela moved first, her hands glowing faint silver, disabling cameras with pulses of energy. Jack and the crew followed, blending human ingenuity with alien precision. Every corner held a trap, every corridor could end them. But Vela remembered patterns, shifts, weaknesses. 13 years of survival now turned into strategy. Finally, they reached the central lab, the heart of the enemy's secret. Machines hummed, data streams flowing like rivers of light. Vela approached the main console, silver energy rippling from her hands. She began uploading her memories, the secrets she carried, into Earth systems. Jack and the crew held the line, fending off guards, drones, and traps. Shots echoed, sparks flew, metal bent and broke. But the humans refused to yield. The alien beside them refused to yield. A sudden alarm blared, louder than before. A figure stepped from the shadows, the scientist who had tortured Vela for years, eyes wide with fury, hands gripping a weapon that could disintegrate flesh in seconds. Vela's pulse surged, energy flickering across the room. The scientist laughed. "You think you can stop me? I created you." Vela stepped forward, calm, her voice steady. "You did not create me. You only tried to break me." Energy shot from her hands, crackling like lightning. The scientist's weapon faltered, sparks flying, but she didn't kill him. Instead, she shattered the control panels behind him, cutting his access to the systems. Jack lowered his blaster, stunned. Vela's eyes softened. "Mercy is more powerful than vengeance," she said, voice almost gentle. The upload completed, alarms fell silent. The enemy's secrets, plans, weapons, positions, were now in human hands. Jack exhaled, looking at Vela, all mixed with gratitude. They had done it, but it was only the beginning. Outside, ships scrambled, forces shifted, worlds would now act on the knowledge they had gained. Vela turned to Jack, small smile, tired but proud. "Humanity fights differently," she said. "Clever, stubborn, unpredictable." Jack nodded. "And sometimes it wins." They left the facility as quietly as they came, shadows among stars. Together, a human and an alien, carrying the galaxy's deadliest secret, and showing that humanity, clever, fearless, unyielding, could fight back against impossible odds. A new life. The stars were calm, almost peaceful. After months of running, fighting, and hiding, Vela finally felt a moment she could breathe. The small human colony on the distant planet welcomed them cautiously. Jack led her down the steps of the landing platform. Her feet touched soft earth for the first time in years. Not metal, not cages, not harsh alien floors. Real, warm ground, under open sky. Children ran past, laughing, their voices strange and foreign. Vela paused, watching them, feeling something she had not felt in over a decade. Hope. Jack stood beside her, hands on his hips, proud and tired. "You're safe here," he said, voice quiet but firm. Vela nodded, silver eyes softening. I can rest, she said, almost whispering. The weight of 13 years of suffering began to lift, though memories of the past still lingered. She didn't forget, but she could finally move forward. The colony's scientists and leaders looked at her with awe and caution. They had heard stories, seen glimpses of her powers, her escape, her knowledge. Some feared her, some admired her, but Jack stayed by her side, guiding her, protecting her. I'll stay, he said simply. I promised. Vela smiled faintly, small but real, the first genuine smile in years. For the first time, she felt trust, not just in him, but in humans, in the species she had doubted for so long. Weeks passed, and she began to help the colony, sharing knowledge of alien technology, teaching defense, helping them prepare for dangers they had never imagined. Her energy was still faint, but clever and precise. She learned their customs, laughed at small human jokes, and sometimes, just sometimes, she allowed herself to feel like she belonged. Jack watched her quietly one evening as the sun set, the sky painted with gold and purple. You've changed everything, he said, more to himself than her. Vela turned, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. No, she said softly. You've changed everything for me. Jack smiled, a rare, honest smile. The bond between human and alien was no longer just survival. It was friendship, trust, perhaps even something stronger. Then one night, standing on the colony's edge, looking at the stars that had once hunted her, Vela whispered, "After 13 years, I found safety." Jack turned, in a place. She shook her head, silver hair glinting in the starlight. No, not a place, in a person. Her voice was steady, full of quiet strength, full of hope, full of life. Jack nodded, understanding perfectly. They stood together, human and alien, survivors of impossible odds, looking at a galaxy that would never be the same. The colony thrived under their guidance, learning, growing, and preparing for threats. Vela became a symbol, not of fear, but of courage, resilience, and the power of alliances. She had escaped death, torture, and betrayal. She had survived the galaxy's deadliest enemies. And she had found something stronger than survival, a new life, trust, and a future worth fighting for.